All right, so you're here because you want to know what's coming next and you want to know it quickly right, specifically what's happening with digital assistants.
Yes, exactly.
Well, think of this deep dive as your personal shortcut to understanding those advancements, cutting straight to the core of what you need to know about digital assistants in 2025.
Right.
We've been looking closely at the current state of these AI-powered companions, drawing from discussions on the Tech and AI podcast from the AI Campa show in their episode titled Digital Assistants in 2025, Are They Smarter Than Ever?
Yeah.
And your goal over the next few minutes is to get a clear picture of what these digital helpers can do right now, to understand some of the potential challenges that arise with increased sophistication, and to get a glimpse into what the near future might hold.
Okay.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay, let's get into it.
It's kind of easy to forget how far these tools have come.
Yeah.
You probably remember the early versions like Siri or Alexa in their initial forms where even basic interactions could be a bit.
Yeah, a bit hit or miss.
Yeah, right. Hit or miss.
Absolutely. It sometimes felt like you needed a secret handshake to get them to do what you wanted.
Right.
But the groundwork laid then has really accelerated the progress we're seeing now, especially with the emergence of these powerful AI models.
Yeah.
Even the established assistants have seen huge leaps in their abilities.
What's really striking is this shift from simple task execution to much more comprehensive assistance.
Right.
According to the podcast, these assistants in 2025 are moving towards genuinely organizing your entire day,
Wow.
factoring in your schedule deadlines and even learning your individual preferences over time to optimize things for you.
Okay, so it's going beyond just scheduling.
Yeah.
The source material highlights their growing capacity for content creation.
Right.
Imagine having an assistant that can draft an article or put together marketing copy just based on a brief you give it.
Yeah.
That's a pretty significant leap from just setting reminders.
It is.
This kind of capability could really reshape how we approach content creation in general.
Absolutely. And when you consider the increasing prevalence of smart home technology,
Yeah.
the integration becomes even more interesting.
Right.
These assistants aren't simply reacting to voice commands anymore.
Yeah.
They're starting to understand your patterns of behavior and proactively managing your home environment based on those learned routines.
So adjusting things like lighting and temperature based on when you usually wake up or arrive home, even managing security systems based on your movements.
Yeah, exactly.
But their capabilities aren't limited to just practical tasks around the house, are they? The podcast touches on their potential role in areas like guiding mental health routines.
That's an interesting area. What's worth considering there is the potential for providing more readily accessible support for individuals.
Yeah.
Imagine an assistant that could guide you through mindfulness exercises or offer techniques for managing stress, or even track your mood patterns and suggest resources that might be helpful.
That's pretty amazing.
It is.
And for those who are learning, whether it's a child with homework or someone tackling a new subject,
Right.
the idea of a digital assistant acting as a personalized tutor, breaking down complex topics in an easy-to-understand way, is quite compelling.
Yeah.
It offers learning support on demand, tailored to the individual's pace and understanding.
What's particularly noteworthy is the way these assistants are starting to connect with other advancements in AI, as highlighted in the source.
Okay.
Think about AI music generators or sophisticated voice platforms.
Right. This is where things get really fascinating.
Yeah.
The hosts on the podcast describe a scenario where a digital assistant could take a simple request and actually generate an entire podcast episode, from creating the script to synthesizing voices and adding music.
Wow.
That's really something.
It really makes you think about the potential for automated content creation on a much larger scale.
It does, but as the podcast astutely points out, with this enhanced capability comes a new set of considerations.
Right.
We're moving into territory beyond simple tools, and it requires a more thoughtful examination of the implications.
Absolutely.
A primary concern that emerges is privacy. I mean, when you think about it, these assistants to function effectively need access to a vast amount of personal information.
Yeah, what's interesting to consider is the sheer breadth of that access. As the podcast details, your assistant might know your precise location, your daily habits, the unique characteristics of your voice, and there's even the potential for them to interpret subtle emotional cues in your speech.
Wow.
So it prompts the question, what are the broader implications when a technology has this level of insight into your life?
Yeah, it really does raise some significant questions.
It does.
And that leads quite naturally to another point brought up, the potential for over-reliance.
Yeah.
If we have these incredibly capable assistants managing more and more aspects of our lives,
Right.
are we at risk of diminishing our own critical thinking and problem-solving skills?
Right. It makes you wonder about our own capacity if we offload too much.
It does.
That's a crucial point to consider, personally. The podcast encourages us to reflect on whether this increasing trust and dependence on digital assistants for tasks ranging from retrieving information to making recommendations could subtly erode our ability to think independently and navigate challenges on our own.
It's definitely worth considering in your own interactions with technology. How much do you currently depend on digital tools, and what might be the long-term effects of that dependence increasing?
Right.
And then there's a somewhat unsettling aspect the podcast addresses, which they refer to as hallucinations.
Yeah, this is a key area of ongoing development and refinement in these advanced AI models. As the podcast hosts explain, even with their sophisticated algorithms, these assistants can sometimes generate information that is completely inaccurate, but present it with a high degree of confidence.
So it's as if they are fabricating information and stating it as fact.
Right.
The podcast gives an example of an assistant confidently providing completely made up facts about a historical event, which really underscores the point that we can't just blindly accept everything they tell us, no matter how authoritative it might sound. It highlights the continued need for human oversight and critical evaluation of the information they provide.
Precisely so. While the phrase smarter than ever might accurately reflect their expanding capabilities,
Right.
it's vital to maintain a degree of healthy skepticism and a clear understanding of their current limitations.
Okay, so we've explored what these assistants are capable of right now and some of the potential challenges that come with that increased sophistication.
Yes.
Let's now turn our attention to what the source material suggests is on the horizon.
Okay.
This is where we start to see some truly futuristic possibilities.
What's particularly interesting is the emergence of what's being called multimodal AI.
Okay.
The podcast emphasizes how future assistants will move beyond just processing text and voice to also understand and interact with images and video.
Imagine an assistant that could not only understand your spoken instructions, but could also process visual information, recognizing objects in a room, identifying people, or even analyzing images to provide contextually relevant information. The potential applications across various aspects of life seem immense.
They do.
Yeah.
And building on this integration of different types of data,
Okay.
the podcast introduces the concept of personal AI agents.
Okay.
This is where things become particularly intriguing, and as one of the hosts in the source put it, it has this kind of scary but kind of cool feel to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The idea of a digital representation of you, one that could potentially communicate in your style, make decisions based on your learned preferences, and even autonomously manage certain aspects of your daily life or work.
Wow.
It's almost like having a highly efficient digital twin working on your behalf.
If we connect this to the listener's interest in convenience and efficiency,
Okay.
the podcast offers a compelling illustration.
Okay.
Picture simply saying, plan a weekend getaway for me.
Right.
And your personal AI agent taking over not just booking your travel and accommodation, but even suggesting activities based on your past preferences, and perhaps even picking out outfits from your wardrobe based on the destination's weather forecast.
It's a level of deeply personalized assistance that felt like pure science fiction just a few years ago.
Right.
But the source suggests that these kinds of capabilities might be much closer than we think.
Indeed. And while the appeal of such convenience is undeniable,
Yeah.
it does bring us back to some of the earlier discussions about reliance and the evolving relationship between human agency and these increasingly autonomous digital counterparts.
So let's revisit the central question posed by the podcast. Are digital assistants smarter than ever?
Good question.
Considering everything we've discussed, from the source material, their expanded abilities in organization, content generation, smart home integration, and the anticipated advancements in multimodal AI and personal AI agents, the answer certainly leans towards a definitive yes.
Undeniably, their level of sophistication and the scope of their potential applications are greater than ever before.
Right.
However, as the podcast rightly emphasizes, the real value and ultimate impact of these tools will depend on how thoughtfully and responsibly we choose to integrate them into our lives.
It really comes down to mindful usage, doesn't it?
It does.
We need to stay aware of the implications, both the benefits and the potential drawbacks, as these technologies continue to evolve and become more integrated into our daily routines.
This raises a fundamental point for you to consider. As you navigate this landscape of increasingly intelligent technologies, it's essential to maintain a sense of curiosity about their potential. a degree of caution regarding their limitations, and a constant awareness of the impact they're having on your individual life and on society as a whole.
And on that note, here's something to really think about with the continuous advancements and increasing integration of digital assistants into the fabric of our lives. What core aspects of the human experience, things like independent thought, genuine human connection, or even the simple act of remembering information, might be most significantly affected? And how can we proactively ensure that these fundamental aspects remain valued and prioritized in this rapidly changing technological world? Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
Thanks for listening.
See you next time.
See ya.